And the documentary really shows just how risky it was for these men to share their truth and share exactly what was happening on the inside. I mean, threats to their safety were involved here when they spoke out. So, how did you both earn the trust of these men to share their stories?
I think they have been motivated to share their stories for a long time because they understand the power of public awareness and they understand the power of transparency. But we had the privilege of being able to engage with them in dialogue over years, and gaining their trust through that dialogue on an emotional level, um, to that allowed us to tell a story that presented them beyond the conditions in which they live, but presented them as leaders, as family members, as people who have wisdom to share with everybody, not just in terms of the horrors they're up against every day. So I think the sustained dialogue that we were able to be in allowed for a deeper relationship that also allowed for deeper storytelling.
And Andrew, do you have anything to add about some of those conversations? Because I mean, there were at some points they were FaceTiming you and they were like, don't talk, someone's coming. I mean, the stakes were so high there.
Well, they're in a situation where they're constantly under siege. You know, the first thing that happens to you when you go into Donaldson prison in Alabama is a group of guards who are very problematic. One of them will generally come up to you, and we've heard this from many people, and say, you better get a weapon because everybody in here has one. And so the entire culture there is one of lack of accountability, one of brutality. And men are, as they say in the film, you know, they're fearing for their lives every day. That's not what the public imagines is happening in these institutions. When we drive by on the highway and we see a little metal sign that says, you know, XYZ Correctional Institution, and we drive past it, we have to imagine that there's some minimal level of humanity and decency, that people are upholding at least the Constitution and the fact that we're not supposed to be engaging in cruel and unusual punishment. And so for us, it was such a extraordinary opportunity to be able to open that door with the help of these men who are taking a huge risk by speaking to us, and we're taking a huge risk for years even before we met. And they're not just taking that risk for themselves. You know, we imagine that people in prison are only fixated on how they're going to get out of prison, but they're taking that risk on behalf of 20,000 other people who are in these institutions. They're taking the risk for them as well. And there are many other people inside who've been doing that kind of work. But the leaders that we met, especially Robert Earl Council and Melvin Ray, were really extraordinary. And you just have to imagine what they could be doing on the outside. You know, people have been in prison for 30 years who have the clarity and ability to lead and have been managing a nonviolent approach to protesting their conditions would be so valuable in society. Does it serve anything, including public safety, to be damaging people inside these institutions and then expecting them to come out? We give them $40 and a bus ticket, and somehow miraculously overnight they're going to be able to rejoin society. So it's not actually helping public safety either for us to be managing this kind of prison system.